Hello. Hello, Emily. Yeah, come on in. You found it. That's great. Was there any trouble with the parking? Okay, good. Last week the client said it was full, which I had never heard in all of my years here. Um, well, thank you very much for coming in. It's sort of a cliche that um, the first step is the hardest, but that might be true with therapy. Um, People have a lot of ideas and images about therapy from the movies and TV and friends and everything else, and sometimes when they come in person it's kind of like, oh, this is a little different. I can do this. So what we're going to do today is introductory material, basically, for me to get um, some basics from you. And I see that you had signed the informed consent form, which contains the confidentiality information, which is that I will not be telling or sharing any aspect of any session with anyone unless there is reason for me to suspect child abuse, animal abuse, self abuse, or direct physical harm to others. And these are the rare exceptions in my experience. And other than that, confidentiality really gives us the freedom to go anywhere. That's what I really treat it as, is not just that I'm not going to tell, but that it's an invitation, really, to explore together. So, the first part, I'm just going to be asking for some basic information. And is it all right with you if I jot it down in a little notebook here? This will also be confidential for my files. Basically, some background information, and sometimes it ends up helping. Down the road, if I remember, oh, didn't you have a parent who did this, and maybe that could tie in with. So it's one of those where it's indirect but possibly useful. So let's start with your name, which we both know is Emily, and move on to your ethnicity. Maybe I should just preface this by saying that you should feel free to define or redefine the term so that it's comfortable for you. You should feel fine not answering everyone, and feel free to offer any explanation about any of them. Really, it's for your comfort, really. So I have ethnicity. Okay. Jewish American. Good. So Jewish is one of the rare ones that comes up under both ethnicity and religion sometimes. So we'll catch up with it when we get to religion to see how it affects you in your life. Um, Class. Okay, upper middle. Religion. Came up quicker than I thought it would. Okay, Jewish, not practicing. Okay, so maybe just in a nutshell for me, since it came up under ethnicity and religion, just maybe in a couple sentences describe how you feel it either defines you or interests you or is part of your life. Yeah, yeah, no, I can understand that for sure. Um, yeah, uh, so basically, I'll just summarize and correct me if I have something wrong. That your parents were Jewish and practiced some. You do not practice, but it has become a factor again somewhat in your life as you've been reading in the newspapers about the swastikas and some of the politicians involved to different degrees with hate groups, anti-Semitic groups. Yeah, and that's a concern I can really see because it's for some of these groups they don't care if you practice or not. You know, if they have their records, they have their ways, and I'm not suggesting they're coming for you or for anyone, but thank you for sharing that. Um, and as we go along, if things change, feel free to let me know. A few more. Education. So your highest education level. A master's. Okay. Master's in education. Great. With a specialty in diversity. Excellent. Um, then what I have next is your marital status and family, children, if you have any. Okay. All right. Divorced, 2 children. And are they um, living with you, out of the house, another city? Oh, okay. All right. Okay. One in a different city and one in a different country. Alrighty. And again, as we go along, you should feel free to bring up anything if it seems relevant. So I'll probably be asking about your children at various points, but if there's something, say next week, you're like, my son is really driving me crazy, feel free to say that. This We're not putting a lock and key on this here. Okay, so uh, how would you describe, maybe not describe, but is your physical health generally good, generally normal, as they might say? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, yeah, and these are confidential, and sometimes the information I can't use really at all, but I have to check because there are some psychological conditions that overlap with some physical conditions, and if it were to come up, that I think you should maybe get, your vision checked, or something like that. It would be useful. Yeah. So, but thank you for telling me here. We have the history of skin cancer and also asthma. And May I ask, feel free if you don't want to answer, if the asthma has affected your day-to-day living in a strong way? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. That's good news. It's very very mild and does not interrupt your activities. Okay, great. And are you do you have a GP or a doctor that you see on occasion, just for checking up on this? Okay, great. Yeah, these are probably not going to be um, coming up, but we'll see. We'll see as we later, probably session 5, 6, 7, 8, get possibly open it up to the question of dreams. I have found that a lot of times people's physical, not necessarily physical illness, but just their body in general can really inform a dream, and asthma, without having it myself, just when I imagine it could have many possible sort of manifestations. So, thank you for sharing that. And family of origin. Okay. Okay. From Russia. And what generation, are you? Uh, Third generation. Okay, great. And this is a question that we can go into much more depth in later sessions, but the short general version of it is, um, do you find that you have enough friends, good friends, friends you can talk to, friends you can trust, um, that sort of thing, almost as like a second kind of family, another sort of way to look at the various support systems, various communications you might have with people. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. No, absolutely. This is actually uh, quite common. Um, this that you have um, many friends in many cities who could call at any time, and you could see at any time, and also many friends in your own city, um, but not a really really close friend, like a best friend when we were younger, or like the person who's always there, you can always count on. Yeah, and when I say that I've seen that before, uh, I should add it's you know it really affects everybody differently. So I'm not going to make any judgments or thoughts about this until we get around to it in later sessions. Um, and your occupation. Oh, okay, great. Diversity trainer. Diversity trainer seems to um, connect up well now that I look back on some of the concerns about contemporary politics and some of the hate groups that diverse populations are at risk than most others. So, thank you. That's good for me to know. And what I'd like to do is ask a question that is, it doesn't need to be a diagnosis or anything, but just to get a general sense. Um, what what would you say is the main thing that brings you into therapy? Mm-hmm. Sure. So, some memory loss, hot flashes, okay, impatience, and is that with friends, family, at work? All three, okay. And would you say that this impatience is somewhat new to you? Has it sort of reached a higher level than you've experienced in the past? Okay. And oh, okay. Um, Speech a bit more rapid than usual. Okay. Has anyone commented on that? Many. Okay. A couple people. Okay. Okay. Well, that will be good for today, and but probably next session we will delve into a few more. And if during the week you happen to think of any and you can jot it down, that would be great also. And yeah, these are could be many different things, and potentially even something on the physical side as well. So um, we'll try to stay on top of these, and if we need to contact your GP or have a visit down the road, I would keep you updated on that. So we're going to move on to a few big things, but we're going to do them very briefly as almost appetizers for what we're going to be doing in future sessions. One is I would ask you about, and this is part of a sort of an interview that a psychologist developed, a lifestyle assessment, and we're just going to do a couple parts of it. One is a part that I find useful, which is called developmental milestones. And what is meant by this is pretty much childhood through, maybe 18. There could be more, but keeping that idea of, physical, emotional, different kinds of development. And so you might be too young to remember the first time you walked, for example, but you might remember something at school where you made a breakthrough, or something where your parents were, particularly emotional, or something about something that happened with your development. Just, one or two of those, if you can think of some now. Okay. Yeah, I can see that could be a big one. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it could be a lot, and we'll be doing that in these sessions here, which is the first time you made a full hot meal on your own for your family. Okay, and do you remember about how old? No, that's okay. That's okay. It's fine. Um, do you remember anything about how it felt to you to do that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Some pride in yourself and your work. Great. Okay. Sort of felt like you were the boss. You were in control. You were making it the way you wanted to. Okay. Great. Great. Well, this next one fits in well with the other one. And you might have actually had them right there at the table. The category is called the family constellation. And what I'll look for today primarily is how your relationship with your parents um, has functioned mainly in the same period, say 0 to 18 or so for today, growing up. Did you get along? One or the other? Okay. Got along with both. Okay. Oh, okay. So they both worked full time. And what kind of effect did that have on you, or how did you feel about that? Okay. Lonely. No, that's okay. That's very mature for that age to realize the position that they might be in, having to earn a certain amount of money to take care of the family, and that it might not have been their first choice. Great. If we move on now to the sibling constellation. If you had any siblings, age difference, any sort of really distinct or sharp memories from childhood again into adolescence. Okay, one brother, 6 years older. Okay. Okay. Okay, so you didn't see him much because of the age difference. I'm guessing different schools and different sports and functions and all of that. Okay. But you did love him. Good. And I'm not sure what age this might have happened at for you, but was there an age you reached where the age difference was not as significant and you were able to sort of speak to him as a sort of a friend as well as a brother rather than as this sort of the little sister or this, much younger person? Okay, so not into your 20s. Okay. Well, you know what? We'll follow up on that one next week. Um, and it's very difficult because the role people have with their siblings varies so dramatically that it's hard to tell. And as you probably have seen with friends and what have you, that the way they get along in public might not be the way they get along otherwise. So we'll talk about that. And now I'd like to do one final category from the lifestyle assessment, and um, it's one of my favorites. And it might seem a little bit there's a childlike aspect to it, but it can I think be useful at any age, and it's to basically to say what your self-concept is. Who are you now? And then your self-ideal, which would be who would you like to be that you aren't now. And these words are chosen in part. It doesn't need to be just your job or just a family or just one. It can be ideas or concepts about who you are, to yourself, to others. Okay. Interesting. Your self-concept is that you're 18 years old. You know you're not, but you okay. This also has happened before. That people sometimes, there's just a time growing up that they really felt like, this is me, and as they age, they sometimes retain that picture of themselves, and so not a problem at all. And then anything else with the self concept? Okay, giving. It's good. Trustworthy. Okay. And then to move on to the self ideal, or who you wish you were, what traits you wish you had, that sort of thing. Oh, piano. Sure. Wish you could play the piano. Wish you were involved in music. Sure. Yeah. Anything else? Hmm. That's very interesting. Yeah. That there's a general, that you have now on the concept side some satisfaction. You feel pretty good, but on the ideal side, that it's not the way you thought. It's like you're still waiting. Yeah, still waiting for a some stronger sense of yourself. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, Emily, for moving through this today with me. And um, in future sessions, we will be doing um, less structured, um, not exactly a conversation. I'll ask a question or two. I'll make a comment or two, and but I'll be letting you do a lot more of the talking than today, and let you, um, sort of tease these out and see where they go. So, well, thank you for coming in. See you next week.